Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins in Iraq, at an Al-Qaeda facility, where some extremists are preparing to murder numerous hostages. At this point, Marine John Triton enters the room, opening fire on the terrorists, despite not being approved to engage. He is forced to engage in close combat, but he quickly destroys the entire squad, and frees the hostages. Despite his valor, John is informed that he will be honorably released from the service. He boards a plane home, where he is greeted by his wife, Kate, who greets him warmly. She is overjoyed to have him home, and looks forward to spending more time with him. John, on the other hand, finds it difficult to sit at home, and has begun a new job as a security guard. Next day, a thief named Rome pulls up to a jewelry store. He enters, where his gang members are already waiting. He pretends to inspect the valuables, before assaulting and knocking unconscious the security guy. Bennett, his friend, takes out his weapons, and orders everyone to get down. Since the back glass is bulletproof, Rome snatches a woman, and threatens to kill her if the manager does not open the door. He opens the doors, and the girl pulls out a weapon, exposing herself to be Angela, a member of their group, and Rome's girl. Rome goes to the rear, and instructs the manager to fill a pouch with diamonds. Before he departs, the manager screams out to him, telling him to beat him, so the cops believe it's real, but Rome shoots him dead. The gang then rushes out, where Rome takes out a machine gun, and fires on the approaching cops. Another member, Morgan, blasts up the cop car just as they are about to go. The cops are checking the site after the crime, and assume one of the employees was involved in the heist. John begins his new job as a security guard for a huge corporation, sharing a shift with his coworker Joe. Then a rich jerk enters the office with his 2 bodyguards and signs in before leaving. While Joe enjoys his work, John finds it tedious. Joe tells him about the advantages, the income, and the fact that there is nothing for him to do, and he urges him to relax. They receive a call from the 12th floor, regarding a disturbance. Upstairs, the rich jerk assaults and curses his ex-girlfriend, until John and Joe arrive. When he tries to insult Joe, John takes him up, and leads him to the main floor, where he tells him to go. When his guards arrive, he becomes fearless, and begins taunting John, which leads to a brawl. Before throwing the guy through the building window, John knocks out the 2 bodyguards, and is fired for the attack, and Joe is suspended. The two sit and talk. Joe reminds John that the only constant in life is change, and he should embrace being home. With that, John lifts his spirits, and resolves to return home to visit his wife. Rome and Angela have returned to their hotel room, and she is apprehensive about the incident at the store. He admits to killing the manager, because he shouted out his real identity, but everything else happened as planned. Joe drives John home and goes inside, trying to conceal what occurred at work, until they see breaking news about security guards out of control, and him throwing the guy through the glass. John apologizes for what happened, but Kate says he started working too soon. She suggests they go on a road trip together, and he agrees. The next day, the two are driving along, enthusiastic about what is to come, when John notices they need to stop for gas. They pull over at a gas station, where Rome and his gang are fueling up, and John goes inside to get snacks. Angela and Bennett are also getting stuff. When a cop car draws up behind them, while Rome is filling up the car, the gang becomes alarmed. The young cop begins filling up his tank, before making small talk with Rome. As he discusses the vehicle, Morgan approaches him from behind, and shoots him in the head. Rome opens fire on the other cop, as he tries to flee and shoots him. When John tries to approach Kate after hearing the ruckus, he is knocked unconscious by Bennett. Angela also shoots the clerk, before the rest of the group flees. They decide to drag Angela out of her car. Rome decides to take her as a hostage, and they pull her away, just as John begins to awaken. Morgan shoots at the gas before they leave, generating a big explosion, that knocks John back. He regains consciousness, just in time to watch the vehicle accelerate away with Angela. He rushes to the cop car, evading another explosion, and assists the cop, who is still alive, out of the vehicle. John hops in his car, and speeds away to save his wife. He radios police command, about the injured cops in the hostage situation, and squeezes every last ounce of power out of the car. Angela, ahead in the Jeep, is searching through Kate's stuff, and notices she is married to a Marine. She doesn't think much of it, as Bennett and Morgan open fire on the other car, blasting it with bullets. Rome then tries to run John off the road, but John is tenacious, and follows them. The top of John's car is ripped off as he is forced off the road, but he does not slow down. They open fire as Rome drives to the edge of a cliff, blinding John and leading him to run over the cliff, and the car to smash below. When the crew arrives to inspect the scene, Kate screams angrily at them. Angela threatens her with a gun, but Rome intervenes, reminding them that Kate is their insurance policy. Their car is totaled, and Vesera warns Morgan that he is too trigger-happy, and they get into a fight. Rome calms them down, and they decide to trek through a swamp, to their destination, to drop off the jewels and receive their reward. Van Buren, a detective, arrives at the gas station, and learns about the radio signal the cops got from John. Van Buren then receives a call regarding the collision, and arrives on the site, to find the van abandoned. John abruptly emerges from the swamp. He tells the detective about his wife, and Van Buren tells him he cannot grant him permission to pursue it, but John does not request it. Van Buren cautions John about the dangers of the guys, which he is aware of by now, and rushes out to save Kate. When the gang is walking through the swamp, Kate starts fighting against them, until Bennett grabs her. Morgan grows tired of trekking through the swamp, and he and Vesera have another argument. Then Rome shoots Vesera, murdering him for no apparent reason. Meanwhile, cops are scouring the marsh, from both the air and the ground, in search of the crew. John follows them and comes upon the location where Vesera was killed, taking up his knife, before continuing on his own. Rome receives a call from the man waiting for the jewels, but decides to deceive him and retain the stones for himself, implying everything was for naught. Meanwhile, John is using all of his tracking skills to keep on their tail, and is closing in quickly. He arrives at a clearing in the woods, and detects danger. A net immediately leaps beneath his feet, but John quickly cuts himself free. Just then, a man holds John at gunpoint, and accuses him of being a cop. He tries to explain he is hunting for his wife, but he is knocked out by another man. John awakens in a shed, strapped to a chair, two enormous men frantically packing away their stockpile. They believe the cops are chasing them, and begin punching John repeatedly. They don't believe his narrative. Since they will not believe him, John lies and claims to be a cop, and that the others are tracking his GPS. The guys start freaking out, and in the pandemonium, John manages to knock down one of them, and escape from the chair. The two meet like two raging semis and start brawling, flinging each other around like bulls. John spots an opportunity and takes advantage of it, but he has now lost sight of Rome and his wife. Nonetheless, he keeps going, and somehow returns to their track. He arrives at the river, where he sees Rome and his men, along with Kate, entering an abandoned lodge in the marsh, where the gang intends to spend the night. Kate is gradually losing her bounds, while the guys decide to hunt for a generator. Morgan walks underground and starts working on the generator. He's just getting started when John charges at him like a furious bull. Morgan manages to smash a bottle over John's head when the two begin trading vicious blows. However, John kills him with a blade before he can attack further. After a while, Rome emerges and calls a buddy, requesting a car be waiting for him at a marina, so he may flee. Bennett comes out to try to start a boat they need. John ambushes him, and the two start fighting, but John is too powerful. He smashes the fellow and kills him. He then meets Detective Van Buren, who wants to take over the chase, now that John has done all the work. The detective agrees to let John see this through. When the lights go out within the lodge, Kate takes advantage of the opportunity to flee. Angela pursues and corners her, and the two begin to swing at each other, until Angela draws a gun. John storms into the lodge, but Rome holds him at gunpoint. Van Buren then enters, holding a gun to Rome's head, and ordering him to drop his weapon. Van Buren abruptly turns his gun on John, showing that he was the one Rome duped. He insists on the gems from Rome, who in turn, instructs the cop to shoot John, in order to obtain half of the jewels. When Van Buren hesitates, John runs up to him and uses him as a shield, while Rome shoots at him. As Rome flees, John is forced to flee for his life. Only he and Angela remain, and before fleeing with Kate, Rome shoots the gas cylinders beneath the lodge, but John escapes before the structure collapses. Rome stuffs Kate into the trunk of Van Buren's automobile and they flee. When the Coast Guard orders him out of the water and attempts to arrest him, John emerges out. But he flips the scenario, snatches a rifle and steals a boat. Rome decides they must get rid of Van Buren's car, so he instructs Angela to stop a semi-truck on the side of the road, and use her charm to get near enough to kill the driver. When John is aboard the cop boat, he overhears the radio report of the killed truck driver, and the location of the stolen truck. By nightfall, John arrives at the marina, overhearing Rome talking and seeing the truck. Kate notices him, and creates a distraction, so they don't notice John, who manages to rush up and jump onto the truck. Angela is thrown from the vehicle by John, and she is crushed by a bus. Rome attempts to shoot him, but Kate knocks the gun out. By driving through several shacks, Rome attempts to knock John off the truck, but he manages to tank the blows, before being flung off. The truck collides with a structure, causing a big explosion, and Rome flees, leaving Kate chained inside. John sprints after the truck, which crashes through a building, and into the river. Rome ambushes John, and begins knocking him down. When John recovers, the two proceed to fight, until a structure collapses on him. Rome seizes the opportunity to finish him, and smashes a sledgehammer into his rib cage. He pulls out a chainsaw, and John barely avoids being struck by it. When Rome starts taunting John about his wife, John gathers his power, disarms Rome, and starts beating him, sending him flying, and plunges into the river after his wife. He swims back to the truck, only to find Kate unconscious and chained. He frees her, and carries her to the surface, anxiously trying to re-establish her breathing. Kate finally starts coughing in their embrace. Rome suddenly attacks John with a chain, but John throws him, and breaks his neck mid-air, killing him. The couple finally hug and kiss, as the cops approach. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.